For blacksmithing, even though it is still very early, I could tell you guys that unlocking all four of the specialization windows, once you've done that, you have probably about it's like in the ballpark of 850 knowledge points that you have to max out before you're maxed out, which is kind of crazy. I think personally, that's a lot of knowledge points. But either way, we don't have access to absolutely everything in blacksmithing at the moment because they haven't implemented all the crafted gear pieces yet because of the work order system not being fully done. But we do have a look at how it's put together. We have weaponsmithing again, and we have armor smithing again. And this is baseline, same stuff as what we had in Dragonflight. And it's, you can choose to go into specific pieces of gear to be able to craft those better. And the same thing goes for weapons. You can also choose what kind of weapons that you want to go for. Otherwise, you go for means of production. And this is obviously going into ingots and alloys and all that stuff. So this is if you want to craft consumables or profession equipment or materials. This is the one that you want to go into. And then there's this. This is a somewhat new mechanic, at least to my ears. Ever-burning forge is still not implemented, but it does say, harness the power of the ever-burning forge, learning useful techniques in order to improve your crafts. Reduces the cooldown of ever-burning forge charges by 1% per point in this specialization. So there's some charges to this, which means that there's a recharge timer of an unknown amount. But also, as you go into this particular talent tree, the charges reset faster and faster and faster. And then at the end here, you get to use a finishing reagent that lets you get an attunement, which is ever-burning attunement, stacking up to 100 times. And when you reach that, you get a stack or a charge of ever-burning forge. It's hard to say whether or not this is going to be like a couple of hours, 8 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours. We don't really know. But there is a talent tree on here to make that process a lot faster. Since it's not implemented, we can't test it. We can't really see what's good. But this whole thing is to improve what that is. But what this sounds like is you get to be able to craft things faster. You get more resourcefulness, more multi-craft or whatever it is that you go for. Because this is, multi-craft using the ever-burning forge, or it's resourcefulness using the ever-burning forge. And then this is inspiration, but it's not supposed to have inspiration. I imagine that this is probably going to be concentration related or ingenuity related. But that's obviously not been changed. But that's kind of what the specialization points are at. It's a lot though. It's a lot. From what I've seen so far, it's one of the ones that have the most, which is not surprising considering what blacksmithing is, but it's there. I don't know if it's a daily thing, but we'll see. We do have our usual green PvP crafted gear. That's still going to be here. We have some items down here that don't have a description yet or unfinished, and they're under other. So wait, lure, like this is probably some other profession stuff. You can see there's a fishing line, but it doesn't say anything. A skeleton key. So this is the usual stuff, extra stuff that blacksmithing gets, but we can't see what it does yet. And then we have profession equipment. We have some for tailoring. We have some for leatherworking, blacksmithing, skinning, herbalism, mining, leatherworking, and then blacksmithing again. And we also have some green versions of some of these, which is pretty cool. So for blacksmithing equipment, or not necessarily blacksmithing equipment, but profession equipment, this is going to be very useful to have blacksmithing. And they look to be bind on pickup, so it looks like we're going to have to do these through the work order system again. So we'll see how that goes. And then we have our embellished gear. These things don't really have any effects yet, but same stuff, similar to something we had in Dragonflight. Some epic crafted items that are eventually probably going to require sparks and crests or whatever it is, right? And then we also have some armor patches, which are optional reagents that you can put into your gear. right now they say does something awesome, which is basically they haven't implemented or figured out what this is supposed to be yet. And then we have our epic weapons, and we have our epic armor. And this is all stuff that would be gotten through learning armor smithing or weapon smithing. But obviously, it's not fully finished, but we get a look at what it's going to look like, which is very nice. And you can see here we have some of the green stuff and some of the blue crafted gears. So a lot of recipes, and it seems like they're going for the whole alloy crafting again, similar to what we had in Dragonflight, using a couple of different alloys to craft and a couple of different materials for ore, which I think is, a grand scheme of things, I think this is pretty good. But that's about it. There's not too many other things that we can really test for blacksmithing because the material requirements for a lot of this stuff is not finished yet. But so the most of the look that we've been able to get right now is purely just at the recipes that we're going to get and a look at how the knowledge point trees are looking, and that's really it. That's really it. Obviously concentration's in the game too, but since we don't have any of the important stuff, we can't test that yet. But it's gonna be fun when we get there. But this is how blacksmithing looks, honestly. There's not too much else. But hopefully in one of the future builds, we can get to a point where we can actually really test out what happens here. But we'll see.